You are sitting in a room full of people, or maybe you're watching a movie or listening to a podcast, and you understand almost everything. Every joke lands, every instruction makes sense, and every concept is crystal clear in your mind. You feel a sense of confidence because your brain is processing the English language perfectly fine. But then, the moment comes when someone turns to you and asks a simple question, or when you need to express your own opinion and suddenly it feels like a trapdoor opens beneath your feet. Your mind goes completely blank. You freeze. You stumble over your words. You translate sentences in your head 3 times before they come out of your mouth, and ultimately, you feel a wave of frustration and embarrassment. You think to yourself, why is this happening? I know the words. I understand the grammar, so why can I not just speak? If this scenario feels painfully familiar, you need to understand one very important truth right now. You do not have a problem with learning English. You have a problem with retrieving English. There is a massive difference between passive vocabulary and active vocabulary. Passive vocabulary is the ocean of words and grammar rules you have absorbed over the years through reading, listening, watching subtitles, and schooling. Your brain has stored all of this data perfectly. Active vocabulary, on the other hand, is the small subset of those words that you can pull up, format into a sentence, and push out of your mouth in real time without hesitating. Right now, your passive understanding is at an advanced level. But your active speaking is stuck at a beginner level. The bridge between the two is broken. And the reason it is broken is simply because you have never trained your brain to retrieve the information under pressure. You have only trained it to absorb information passively. The biggest mistake people in your situation make is assuming that if they just learn more words, read more books, or study more grammar rules, their speaking will magically improve. It will not. Adding more data to a hard drive does not fix a broken processor. If you want to speak fluently, you have to stop learning new English for a while, and you have to start activating the English you already know. You have to shift your focus entirely from input to output. This requires a very specific kind of daily practice that rewires how your brain accesses language. You do not need to move to a foreign country. You do not need to hire an expensive tutor, and you do not need to find a native speaker to practice with. You can do this entirely on your own, in the comfort of your room, using a methodical daily routine. The first pillar of this daily practice is something called the monologue method. Most people wait for a conversation partner to practice speaking. But if you freeze when a real person is looking at you, how are you going to practice with them? You need a safe space where there is zero judgment, zero pressure, and zero fear of making a mistake. That safe space is your own mind. But you have to verbalize it. Every single day, you need to allocate 10 to 15 minutes where you are completely alone and you just talk out loud to yourself about your day. It sounds ridiculously simple and maybe a little crazy, but it is the most effective way to build the muscle memory of speaking. Do not script it, do not write it down first, just open your mouth and start narrating. Tell yourself what time you woke up, what you ate for breakfast, why you liked or disliked the food, what tasks you have to complete today, and how you are feeling emotionally. When you do this, you will immediately hit a wall. You will want to say something like, I am feeling very exhausted because my workload is overwhelming. But you will realize you do not remember the word for overwhelmed. Or your brain will freeze on the past tense of a verb. This is the exact moment where the magic happens. Do not switch back to your native language. Do not stop talking. When you hit that wall, you must use the circumlocution strategy. This means you talk around the word you forgot. If you cannot remember the word overwhelming, you say, I'm feeling very tired because I have too much work and it is too much for my brain. You explain the concept using simpler words that you already actively know. This trains your brain to never stop moving forward. Fluency is not about using big fancy words. Fluency is about not stopping. When you talk around a forgotten word, you are teaching your brain that a communication breakdown is not a dead end. It is just a detour. Doing this for 10 minutes a day forces your brain to build new neural pathways from the passive storage area directly to your mouth. The second crucial part of your daily practice is the shadowing technique. As mentioned earlier, you already understand English perfectly when you listen to it. But listening passively while scrolling on your phone does nothing for your speaking muscles. Shadowing changes passive listening into active speaking. Here is exactly how you do it. Find a short video, maybe 2 to 3 minutes long, of a native speaker whom you admire. It could be a TED Talk, a YouTube blog, or a clip from an interview. Make sure you have the subtitles on. Now play the video, but do not just listen. You are going to speak out loud at the exact same time as the speaker. You are going to become their shadow. If they say, "Hey guys, today I want to talk about the power of habit," you say those exact words at the exact same rhythm with the exact same intonation. Why is this so powerful? Because it completely bypasses the translation process in your brain. When you speak on your own, your brain usually thinks of the idea in your native language, translates it to English, checks the grammar, and then speaks. This takes 4 steps, which causes a massive delay. When you shadow, you are eliminating the translation step. You are directly linking the sound of the English word to the physical movement of your mouth and tongue. You are training your vocal cords to produce English sounds without your brain getting in the way. Furthermore, shadowing teaches you the melody of English. English is a stress-timed language, meaning certain words in a sentence are stressed louder and longer, while other words are reduced to tiny sounds. If you do not use this rhythm, you will sound robotic, and people will struggle to understand you, even if your grammar is perfect. By mimicking a native speaker for 5 minutes a day, you naturally absorb the rhythm, the pauses, and the intonation, which makes your own spontaneous speech sound much more natural and confident. The third exercise you must incorporate into your daily routine is the rewind and react drill. This is where you simulate a real conversation by yourself. Find a podcast or an interview where there are 2 people talking naturally. Play a short segment, maybe 30 seconds, where one person asks a question or makes a statement. The moment they finish speaking, immediately hit the pause button. Now pretend you are the other person in the conversation. Answer the question or respond to the statement out loud. Give your honest opinion, just as you would in a real chat. Once you have given your response, hit play and listen to how the actual person in the video responded. This drill is incredible for building conversational reflexes. In a real conversation, you do not have 5 minutes to think about your answer. You have maybe 1 or 2 seconds. This exercise puts just enough pressure on your brain to force it to retrieve vocabulary quickly. But because you are alone with the pause button, there is no actual anxiety. Sometimes your response will be better than the person in the video, and sometimes you will struggle. If you struggle, rewind the video, listen to the question again, pause, and try giving a different response. You can do this for 10 minutes a day, and you will essentially be having dozens of mini conversations every single week. Over time, your brain will start to recognize common conversation patterns like how to agree, how to politely disagree, how to express surprise, or how to summarize a point. These patterns will become automatic, meaning you will not have to think about them when you are in a real-life situation. Now let us address the elephant in the room, which is the fear of grammar. If you understand English but cannot speak it, it is highly likely that grammar is your biggest mental block. You are probably terrified of making a mistake. You are afraid of using the wrong tense, messing up the subject-verb agreement, or using the wrong preposition. You have to let this go completely. You need to understand that native speakers do not speak with perfect grammar. If you were to transcribe a casual conversation between two native English speakers, you would find run-on sentences, misplaced modifiers, and incorrect verb tenses everywhere. But they do not care, because the primary goal of language is communication, not perfection. When you practice your daily monologues or your rewind and react drills, you must adopt a rule of fluency over accuracy. If you have to choose between speaking a sentence perfectly but taking 10 seconds to think of it, or speaking a grammatically incorrect sentence instantly, always choose the instant incorrect sentence. Communication is about transferring an idea from your brain to the other person's brain. If I say, "Yesterday I go to market and buy many things," that sentence has terrible grammar. I should have said went and bought. But if I say that sentence to you, you understand exactly what I mean. The idea was transferred successfully. The communication was 100% effective. When you are practicing alone, do not stop to correct yourself. If you use the wrong tense, keep moving. If you forget an article like a or the, keep moving. The more you obsess over grammar while speaking, the slower you become and the more anxious you feel. You can fix grammar later by reading, but while speaking, you must allow yourself to sound a little messy. Another vital component of this daily practice is activating your passive vocabulary through what I call the 3-sentence rule. You probably have a notebook or an app on your phone filled with words you have learned but never use. Pick just one word from that list every single day. It does not matter how simple or complex the word is. Let us say the word is reluctant. Your task for the day is not to write it down 50 times. Your task is to force that word out of your mouth in 3 different spoken sentences throughout the day. While you're taking a shower, you say out loud, "I was reluctant to wake up this morning." While you're driving to work, you say out loud, "My friend was reluctant to try the new restaurant." While you're making dinner, you say out loud, "I am reluctant to spend money on things I do not need." By doing this, you are manually moving that word from the passive section of your brain to the active section. You are giving your brain a physical memory of your mouth saying that word in context. If you do this with just one word a day, that is 30 words a month that you have successfully activated. Over a few months, your active vocabulary will expand massively, and you will find that these words just pop into your head naturally when you are speaking because your brain now recognizes them as speaking tools, not just reading tools. You also need to pay attention to the physical mechanics of speaking English. If you have spent your whole life speaking your native language, your mouth muscles are literally trained to move in a specific way. English requires a completely different set of facial movements, tongue placements, and breathing patterns. If your muscles are not used to making English sounds, your mouth will feel heavy and clumsy when you try to speak fast. This is why reading out loud is a necessary part of your daily practice. Take a book, an article, or even the subtitles of a movie and read it out loud for 5 minutes a day. But do not just read it mindlessly. Read it with exaggeration. Open your mouth wider than you think is necessary. Overpronounce the vowels. Feel your lips touch when you say words starting with P or B. Feel your tongue touch the back of your teeth when you say words with T or D or L. When you do this, you are essentially taking your mouth to the gym. You are strengthening the muscles that are weak. You are building muscle memory. When you eventually go to speak English spontaneously in a conversation, your mouth will not feel clumsy anymore because it will already be warmed up and accustomed to the physical shapes of English words. Think of a professional pianist. They do not just think about the notes. Their fingers have muscle memory from hours of physical practice. Your mouth needs the exact same kind of physical practice. Let us talk about the psychological aspect of this journey, because the mental block is often stronger than the linguistic block. You have likely built up a narrative in your head that you are bad at speaking English. Maybe someone laughed at you in the past, or maybe a teacher corrected you harshly, and now your brain associates speaking English with danger and embarrassment. You have to actively dismantle this narrative. Every time you sit down to do your 10 minutes of solo speaking, you are succeeding. There is no failure in this practice. If you speak out loud for 10 minutes, you have successfully spoken English for 10 minutes. You need to start celebrating these small victories. You need to start telling yourself a new story. Instead of saying, I cannot speak English, you need to start saying, I am currently activating my English. It is also incredibly important to start thinking in English. The translation trap is the #1 killer of fluency. If you think in your native language and then translate, you will always be slow. You have to start small. You do not need to have deep philosophical debates in your head in English right away. Start by labeling things in your environment. Look at a chair and think the word chair. Look at a window and think window. Once that becomes easy, start making simple observations. Look out the window and think, it is very cloudy today. I think it will rain. Then start asking yourself questions. What am I going to eat for lunch? Why am I feeling so tired right now? Answer these questions in your head in simple English. By doing this constantly throughout the day, you are immersing your brain in an English environment without needing a single other person. You are cutting out the middleman of your native language. When it comes time to speak, the words will already be floating on the surface of your mind in English, rather than buried under a pile of translated thoughts. You need to understand that building fluency is not a linear process. You will not see massive results in 2 days. There will be days when you do your shadowing and your monologues and you feel like you are sounding worse than you did the day before. This is completely normal. When you start training a muscle, it often feels weaker before it gets stronger because you are exhausting it. Your brain is forming new neural pathways, and that takes energy and time. You will hit a plateau where you feel like you are using the same simple words over and over and not improving. Push through it. The plateau is an illusion. Your brain is consolidating the information behind the scenes. If you stay consistent, you will suddenly have a moment, maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in a month, where you are talking to someone and a perfectly structured, complex sentence just falls out of your mouth without you thinking about it. In that moment, you will realize that all the silent, awkward practice in your room was actually working. To put this all together into a realistic daily schedule, you do not need hours of your time. You need about 30 to 40 minutes total broken up throughout the day. In the morning, do 5 minutes of the monologue method while you are getting ready or having coffee. Just talk to yourself about today's plan. During your commute or while doing chores, do 5 to 10 minutes of shadowing with a podcast or a video. In the evening, do 10 minutes of the rewind and react drill to practice your conversational reflexes. Right before bed, do 5 minutes of reading out loud to exercise your mouth muscles and practice your 3-sentence vocabulary rule. If you do this every single day for 30 days, I guarantee you will see a transformation. You will not become a native speaker in a month, no one can. But you will bridge the gap between understanding and speaking. The heavy, anxious feeling in your chest when someone asks you a question will start to fade. You will start to trust your brain to find the words. You will realize that you already had the tools inside you. You just needed to pick them up and use them. Stop focusing on what you do not know and start forcing out what you do know. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to speak and start creating a safe space to speak right now, alone, out loud. The leap from passive understanding to active fluency is not about studying harder. It is about speaking louder. Take a deep breath, forgive your mistakes before you even make them, and start talking.